Today we're going to be making a wonderful curry galette inspired by my grandmother's beef empanadas. I wanted to make something that honors that color, the memories that I have associated with her empanadas, and also brings some of that same Caribbean flavor to a dish that brings me lots of comfort. We're gonna get started with our marinade, and so let's chop up our ingredients and get this chicken in the bag. So we're just going to be chopping up our green onions. You can do a very rough chop on this. I'm using a yellow onion here for this marinade, but you can totally use a red onion if that's what you prefer, or white onion if that's what your spirit speaks to. Cooking for me is actually, as a person who deals with anxiety and depression and all of those things, those wonderful things, cooking is a way to ground me and connect me back with a sense of safety. I find that very special, and every time I go into the kitchen, I'm reminded of that fact. So you just want to mash the garlic cloves, which will make it easier to dice. Now we're gonna get over to our ginger. And ginger, you can use, I would say, enough that works for you, the amount that works for you. Just gonna dice this up really finely. So now we're gonna move on to our Scotch bonnet for our marinade. And I will admit, I'm not the biggest fan of heat in my food, so I'm going to use just the bottom half of the Scotch bonnet in my marinade. Once you have your onions and your peppers and everything cut and diced, you can add in your allspice and your curry powder. And we're also going to add in some salt and pepper, so you just want to add just a few pinches of this to your taste. So now we're going to get our chicken in the marinade. First thing we're going to do is cut our chicken into 1-inch chunks. I am using boneless and skinless chicken thighs, so we're going to add our chicken cubed and such into our seasoning. But before I do anything else with the chicken, I'm going to wash my hands. Not much to it here. You just want to bring all of the flavors together. You want to allow that curry to cover all of the chicken. Now that my chicken is combined, I'm going to cover it up and set it to marinate in a refrigerator for at least an hour up to overnight. Okay, so now we are going to make our dough. So we're adding in 1.5 cups of flour, turmeric, and some black pepper. And we're going to be adding in our garlic as well, salt to taste. I am going to be using fresh thyme, but you can also use rosemary and other things like that that speak to you. And we're going to use frozen butter. As it blends in, as you pulse it together, that is how you will get those tiny morsels of butter throughout your dough, so that you'll see it when you roll it out and also when you bake it. So I'm just going to pulse it a few times, not too much. And you want to pulse it until you get a small croissant-like texture. While we have the dough inside of here, we're going to add our cold water, ice cold. Okay, this is what you want. All you're going to do is lightly flour your surface, get this out, and we're just going to bring it together. Okay, so we have our dough into a disc, and basically you want to put this to refrigerate. So all we're going to do is wrap this in plastic wrap and set it in the refrigerator until our chicken is ready to go and we're ready to assemble our galette. Set it and forget it for an hour at least. We have our chicken marinated, our dough is set, and now we're going to make our green seasoning. This green seasoning is important because it is your gateway to more flavor in your curry, in your dish, and elsewhere in your life. We're going to start off with our peppers. What I love about this green seasoning is that there are a lot of elements, but they're all rough chops. And so I'm just going to give rough chops to my peppers. Kitty's in the pool. And now we're going to go on to our red onion. We're just going to go for some nice, big, chunky red onions. Nice rough chops of the ginger. I have cloves of garlic here, and we're just going to crush them. Now we're going to chop off some of our white onion as well. So now we move on to our Scotch bonnet, and I'm just going to give her a nice chop into the pool. I'm going to add about half of this lime. It's good for preservation, and it's also a great boost of flavor. We can't forget our herbs. The good thing about this is that this can be a rough chop too with your parsley and your herbs. We're just going to add some thyme. I like fresh thyme leaves. I like the taste of it. I like to see the little green flecks throughout my food. You can use some of the stems here too if that works out. Salt to taste and pepper to taste. And to help it come together, you want to add a little bit of olive oil. Okay. And there you go. So this is the consistency you're gonna wanna see. Nice chunks here. You can see all of the veggies and the herbs evenly distributed throughout. I'm gonna set this aside until I'm ready to make my sour cream mixture. So now we're gonna get our sweet potatoes going. And we're just gonna cut these in very casual, inch-thick slices into quarters. You're gonna add some paprika, ginger, garlic powder, as well as some black pepper and salt to taste. I'm just gonna cover this with some olive oil and get it ready to toss. Make sure that all of the seasonings are coated on your sweet potatoes so that when it roasts, all of these flavors bake into the sweet potatoes and you can taste all of these herbs and spices in the galette. And that's important because you have to layer at every level. That's something my mother always told me with cooking. Adding flavor and seasoning at every step of the way. Arrange them just so. Make sure everybody has their own space in the party to get some heat and get some love from the oven. Now that your sweet potatoes are ready to go, you're gonna put them in the oven to bake just until they're lightly brown. For me, that's about 15 minutes. We're going to get started on our chicken. Before we saute our chicken, we are going to do what's called toasting our spices. You're going to add in your curry powder and your allspice. You just need to toast your seasoning for about a minute or two. You just want it to darken maybe a shade or two in color, reduce some of that harshness, and you can smell some of those aromatics circulating in the kitchen. And if you can see here, it's going from like a bright gold down a little bit darker towards like an amber kind of color. We are ready to add in our chicken. So we're just shaking off a little bit of the excess marinade. Gonna add some nice big chunks in here. Don't stress out if you get some of your garlic or some of these nice onions or peppers into your chicken. It's gonna cook down and stew and saute very nicely anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. So right now, what I am smelling is that really beautiful curry and specifically the allspice. Allspice is something that I don't use a lot, but you will find it a lot in Caribbean cooking. You get some of that warming spice notes, some of those nice aromatic flavors. Got it sauteed. We're gonna add in a little bit of water here. So now we're going to cover our chicken and let these juices come on out. And once this is covered, we're gonna cook it for about 6 to 8 minutes, and then you're gonna uncover and let the sauces reduce a little bit more. All right, so our chicken is just finishing up sauteing. As you can see, all of the sauce has reduced, and I'm gonna get this off of the heat and set it aside so that we can make our seasoned sour cream. I like to let my chicken cool for about 10 minutes before I assemble so that I'm not assembling anything warm. Okay, so now we're gonna make our seasoned sour cream, which brings the entire dish together. All you need is a few tablespoons of sour cream, and we're going to combine that with our turmeric, our garlic powder, some black pepper, and some salt to taste. The thing that takes this seasoned sour cream to the next level is a couple scoops of our green seasoning. And once you have spread a thick, healthy layer of this on the bottom of your galette, you can actually use the rest of it for a topping to dip or to sprinkle on top. Okay, how you feeling? So now we are going to bring all of the children to the table to assemble our galette. When you take your dough out of the refrigerator, you want to make sure that it is, not super hard. You want to be able to roll it out. And it's less important to have the pretty edges because you're going to be folding it up into itself anyway. The first thing that goes on the bottom of this is our sour cream. So you take a big dollop of that, maybe 2. And this is going to be the base. So not too much, just really out a couple inches, an inch or so from your edge. And remember, we're going to be folding it in. So you want to leave a border around the edge. So now we're going to get our sweet potatoes on top of the sour cream. And this is up to you. I like mine very densely populated. I like mine rubbing shoulders against one another. We're going to just sprinkle on our chicken. And now is where all the magic starts to come together. You can see and smell the allspice in this chicken, that wonderful spice curry flavor, those onions, all that green seasoning. This is where it all comes together. Like one big old delicious Rhythm Nation. Fill in those edges so that once it folds up onto itself, that it doesn't like deflate around the corners. You want it to be sturdy and strong. The very last thing you need to do is turn it up with some color. So this is where you can get creative and, you know, let your flag fly. Well, I'm happy with this and how this looks, so we're gonna get to the folding. And all we're doing is folding our dough up and over onto the galette. Apply an egg wash around the outside. And now that that's done, onto the oven. Our galette is out of the oven, it has rested, and now I am excited to dig into this wonderful dish. The first bite, to me, is the best bite. I'm tasting the amazing flaky dough. You taste all the butter and the herbs in the dough. You get some of the heat and the aromatics from the spices in the curry. And you also get the sweetness from the sweet potatoes, and it all works beautifully together. My favorite bite of the galette is the first bite because it feels like a job well done and a loving, warm hug from someone who I appreciate. So it lets me know if I'm on the right track in life, and this has shown me, this first bite, that I am. Please like and subscribe to Food and Wine and share this galette with someone who you love. Feel free to let us know what's inside yours and what kind makes your soul glow. See you soon.